Hey friends, we are back here with the 1970s Fender Bassman 50 with the master volume. In the last episode of this series, we kind of reviewed the entire amp, found a few things wrong with it that should be addressed, and then went through every single resistor here, looking at the schematic, trying to determine, what might need to be replaced here, and in the process, realized that the schematic I had was wrong. And upon further research, as far as I can tell, this is a very unique amp. It is something that was only made for a couple years, as far as I can tell, and there does not exist a schematic or layout for this amp online, at least as far as I could find. So it makes it a bit of a unique bird. Now, the good thing is that this is in pristine condition. It looks essentially 100% original to me, outside of obviously, this tomfoolery with the power cord. But everything else looks pretty much untouched. So I can kind of judge a book by its cover, if you will. And, when I see this, 100K resistor here, I can be confident that that should be 100K and not some different value that somebody swapped in there incorrectly. So I went through and checked everything here and confirmed that it all looks really good. There's only a couple potential areas that popped out for, maybe just to be safe, such as the resistor here over in the bias circuit, and then the filter caps. So we've got a ton of caps here. These white Mallory caps, you'll see here. I am going to go ahead and recommend to the owner of this amp that we replace all of those, and that is from the recommendation of Lyle over at Psionic Audio. We chatted about this a bit, and he pointed out that, yeah, these tend to go, and they don't really show any signs of failing. So there's not really a like, okay, now it's looking like I need to replace it. They just suddenly fail, as far as I understood. So with that in mind, we're going to be swapping, assuming the owner is okay with it, swapping all of these white Mallory caps. And then when it comes to these blue caps here, these affectionately known as the blue turds, really my plan is to keep them in here unless they show, serious issue with leaking voltage. So we're going to go ahead today and check all of those to make sure that they don't have any of those issues. But otherwise, I'm not really the kind of person that just wants to rip out everything and replace it with modern components. If it's not broke, don't fix it. So that's my own perspective. All right, so with all of that in mind, I've got the amp set up here. I've got the current limiter. I've got the Variac off screen. I've got it plugged into my Pro Reverb's speaker cab, which is 4 ohm, matching what it says on the back plate here. So exactly what this is looking for. We've got tubes back in it. We've got the fuse in it. So we're going to go ahead and fire it up. This wiring is super janky, but according to the owner, the amp does work. So yeah, we're just going to go ahead and fire it up. And I've got the current limiter if there's any catastrophic issue, but I don't think we're going to have any problems, hopefully. So we'll go ahead and turn it on and then slowly bring up voltage on the Variac. And I might as well get this out so you guys can see the voltage coming up. All right, there we have it. This is 120. We can see we're getting just about 400 volts here with the current limiter in chain, which means we should be getting, I guess it's dropped down to 394. So probably about 400-ish volts high voltage here with the current limiter out of chain. So fantastic. Now let's go ahead and see where do I want to start? I guess let's go ahead and just grab a guitar and make sure we're getting sound. And then from there, we can do a couple other tests. So let me grab a guitar real quick. All right, so I've got my trusty telly here. We'll go ahead and plug into the bass channel. Got the master volume all the way up, and we'll turn the volume on this up a little bit just so we can make sure it's working. And it is. Cool, so that works totally fine. Let's go ahead and move over to the normal channel. Oof, big noise there. This one might be a bit louder. Let's turn it down a little bit. Cool. So that works. No crackles there. It's a little buzzy because obviously I've got the single coils pointed right at the transformer, but not too bad. Let's see the master volume. Lot of crackles there, turning that. I don't know if you'll be able to hear that or not. So that could be just a dirty pot, or we could be getting leaky voltage off of some of the capacitors, which is ending up on that pot. So we'll go ahead and check that, but the amp works and actually sounds pretty good. The bass channel is pretty dark, which is to be expected. I do have, what do I have the treble on? I can't read it from here, but it looks like it's maybe 5.5 or something. So we'll explore this a bit more, but really the goal is not to mod this amp, just to restore it. Well, not even restore it. I mean, it's pristine, but just to make sure it's good to go for, you know, decades and safe, safe for the owner to use. So, sorry, my voice cracked there a little bit. Okay, let's go ahead and unplug the guitar, and we'll do, I think we'll start with kind of the pokey proddy test. So let's go ahead and take the multimeter, move it off to the side. And this is just a nice little test I like to do. I'll turn it down a little bit. Where you take a kind of non-conductive stick like this, you know, you can use wood or plastic like this, and just kind of move stuff around and see if anything, you know, makes a noise coming through the speaker. And so that'll tell us if there's, you know, microphonic capacitors, or, you know, wires, or maybe resistors are loose, or there's just some issue that wouldn't, you know, necessarily show itself with everything just sitting here still. But maybe if this was on a cab really turned up, the vibrations might cause that to come out. So I'm just going to go ahead and start left to right and just make sure nothing is showing any issues. Now it really doesn't look like anybody's touched this, so I imagine it's fine, but okay, so this little disc cap right here, I don't know if you'll be able to see that or not. Right here. Oh, now it's not making any noise. It did for a second. Okay, so we might explore that one a bit more, but now it seems fine. Maybe a tiny bit of noise coming from those two. Tiny bit of noise from that one as well. This wire is also a bit noisy. Oh. This one is super noisy. Again, I don't know if you'll be able to hear that because the speaker, oh gosh, I'm so zoomed in and you can't even see what I'm doing. Sorry about that. Okay, this one was a little bit noisy. This lead right here, just a little bit noisy, but this orange one, hopefully you'll be able to hear that. It's quite noisy. So it could be the actual tube there, soldering joint here, or even just a microphonic wire. Okay, so to recap findings, basically 99% of it looks great. This cap was showing a little something, but now that's not anymore, so it might have just been angled a bit weird, but you know, reflowing these joints might be a good idea there. These are, I don't think there's enough noise to warrant ripping these out if they're not leaking voltage at all. These disc caps often do make noise, but they're you know, completely silent in this case. So that's good. And really the only major offender is, oh, this lead even seems fine now, even just moving a little bit. You know, reflowing these solder joints I think will help alleviate a lot of that, but this orange lead is quite noisy. So we'll have to figure out where if there's anything under the board or anything. It doesn't look like it. It looks like it just goes straight under, but and maybe this was swapped too. I mean, it's just one random orange lead here, and everything else is you know, more of these whites, light green, light yellow, and then red kind of colors. So we'll have to look into this a bit more, but that's the only suspect one for that test, but otherwise it seems very solid. So now with that done, we can go back to the multimeter, carefully put it here. Now I wouldn't recommend putting your multimeter on the chassis like this in general. Normally I'd have it down here, but you won't be able to see it. So something you gotta do for the video, I guess. Now we're going to go ahead and check for leaky voltage on the capacitors. You won't be able to see the, what am I doing? You won't be able to see the, there you go. You won't be able to see that actually if they are leaky or not. So let's go back and try that again. And it's blocking some of the light. I'm a mess tonight, guys. It's extremely hot. It's 87 degrees and quite late. So excuse me. We'll go ahead and start on this side. So we should be seeing basically 0 DC voltage on this side, or as close to 0 as possible, or you know, as much as the cap will give us. So it looks like it's hovering around 0.01, excuse me. I think that's fine. That's not a lot. I'll check the Mallory's too while we're at it, even though I think we should swap them out. Mallory's fine. This one's got 0.01 max, 0.004, nothing, nothing. Okay, I can't, I don't really understand that one right now. It's showing high voltage on both sides. I'm not sure how it's set up in this circuit, the layout here. I don't know enough to be able to know offhand, but it shouldn't, you know, that amount of voltage, there'd be major issues if it wasn't part of the circuit and there's some other greater reason. So I'm going to operate on the assumption that's fine, and then off camera I will do research to confirm that. So let's check this side. This side should be voltage. Yeah, it is. So let me turn the amp down a little bit. This side should be nothing, and it is 0.002. Check the Mallory's for fun. Fine. Fine. 0.009. That's basically nothing. That is nothing. Check the Mallory. Good to go. Fine. All right, where is the lead on this one? I think this side would be voltage. This side would not. Looks like this one's fine as well. Let me just try it one more time to confirm. Yep, that one's fine. Just my stick to move the leads out of the way a little bit. So let's try. I really should be using the long probe for this side. I'll do that next time. This is a little sketchier. Seems to be 0. All right, and then with these last two here, I know in this area of the circuit, typically, if I remember correctly, they will measure a bit different with the bias supply sending negative voltage across this resistor to this eyelet connected to this side. So I would expect this side to be high voltage and this side to be negative voltage. So, yep, there's high voltage. This side I would expect to be negative 50, which should be what that is. And it is. Okay, and then same thing on this side. Negative voltage, yep. Negative 44. High voltage on this side. Yep. Okay. I don't know enough offhand to know whether, those should be the same amount right here, or if there's something else, that tells me that these should be replaced or not. I will do research on that. But as far as I can tell, these are all good. We've got this outlier here I need to do some research on, and then these two, but the rest measured really, really good. So as of right now, I feel pretty confident recommending we keep all of the blue turd capacitors. And then the Mallories, they all measure perfect. Normally I would, say let's just keep them, but I was encouraged to replace them by more than one person. So that has much more experience than me with these. So I think we're still going to move forward with that recommendation of replacing all of the Mallories and then likely keeping all of these blue turds. Perfect. Okay, the last thing we need to check is the master volume, because we saw it was scratchy. So probably dirty, but let's go ahead and see if there's any voltage on it, just to confirm. Okay, there is voltage. So 0.13 volts. Same thing. Nothing on that one. Okay, so I think that is enough voltage to cause it to be a bit scratchy. So let's go ahead and follow the kind of green and yellow leads here. See where they go. Okay, so here's the green, and that's only connected to this disc cap, which means that this one is likely leaking 0.1 volts. And it is. This side would be high voltage. And it is. So that is leaking, and might not be a bad idea to swap that. Yeah, I have to do some more research. I don't know how bad 0.1 is, in the grand scheme of things. I don't know if that's enough to cause major concern. And if I clean the pot and it still has some scratchiness to it, yeah, we'll figure that out after doing a little bit more research and talking to the owner. So this one is the yellow lead that also showed voltage. So we should also be seeing 0.1 here. And we are. It's kind of interesting these were both leaking the exact same amount. And the other side should be high voltage. And it is. Cool. So with that in mind, quick recap of the plan. So we're going to be recommending that we replace likely this resistor here in the bias circuit is out of tolerance. Replacing all of the white Mallory caps in here. Obviously redoing the 3-prong with a new 3-prong and doing it properly. What else did I say? TBD on the blue turrets here, but as of right now, I think probably we'll keep all of those. I don't recall there being a resistor that was out enough to consider really recommending swapping it. I did take more detailed notes. Let me pull those up. So there was 100K I have on here that, okay, yeah, this 100K. In the phase inverter, this was out of tolerance. It should be a 5%, and it is not. And it didn't measure within 5%. So I will swap one of those with one of my new old stock AB resistors that I bought for the Vibrolux project. So that'll be getting swapped. What else? I mentioned the bias caps already. Strain relief. And then, yeah, mentioned the Mallories, all those caps. This one is really interesting. I was looking at earlier, the value on this for the base circuit it's bizarre. It's 750 microfarad at 3 volt. I've never heard of a cap like that before. So I don't believe anyone makes anything close to that. That's got that much capacitance and such a low voltage, and it has to be small enough to fit here. So I need to do some research on what can be swapped in there. If you guys have any ideas or insights into can this be a 50, 100 microfarad, or does it have to be even higher than that? In which case, where do I buy that? So that was interesting, but that'll be swapped with everything else. Possibly artificial center tap. I'm not really sure. This amp from factory didn't have it, but I know the Bassman 50 schematic showed that. So something I need to do some more research on. The tube socket that had the chip in it, we'll be replacing that. And then everything in the doghouse. So the two 70 microfarad 350 volt caps, and then the 320 microfarad 500 volt caps, and then possibly the two 220K resistors that I haven't been able to check their values yet. So there you go. That's the recap. So a healthy amount of work, but really just to ensure that the amp is good to go for decades. And yeah, just really do it a good service. It is a beautiful amp in really incredible condition, and I'm excited to work on it. All right, so with that, I think we will go ahead and end here. I'll talk to the owner. We'll probably get an order in for the parts to be shipped and then pick up once those arrive. All right, thanks so much for watching, guys, and until next time, see ya. Okay, so I'm back the next day, and after some more research and then talking to Lyle over at Psionic Audio, who's been incredibly generous with helping me learn the ropes here, discovered kind of between these three caps that were not able to read correctly. This one is not like the other caps in the circuit. It's actually doing the same role as this tiny little 500 picofarad cap is off of the same pin for the normal channel, the V1 of the normal channel, the first tube of the normal channel. So this is a little 500 picofarad cap going off V1, whereas this one is a, hard to tell, but it looks like a 0.01 microfarad cap here off of V1 for the bass channel. So his recommendation was to actually remove this cap entirely, take the 500 picofarad, move it over to this location here, and leave this one without this cap here, and he said the amp will come alive with that. So we will absolutely give that a try and test that out. So that solves this issue. And then determining if these caps are okay or not, basically there's a method he explained to me that I could do to try it. There's lots of ways, but there's no way to do it in circuit like this. Leads will have to be lifted. You could lift both and plug it into an actual capacitor tester, or there's some other methods, one of which he explained to me, and I'm not sure I feel comfortable doing that on camera because I want to make sure I do everything correct. So I think I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then if everything goes smoothly, I might kind of quickly explain it, but it gets a bit touch and go, and I just want to make sure I'm doing everything perfectly without worrying about a camera on. So that's where we're at with this. So plan, I'll add this to the list, remove this, swap this over there, and then yeah, we'll go ahead and confirm these are good to go. But honestly, judging by everything else, I'm guessing they're going to be totally fine and nothing to worry about. So cool. All right, so we've got 120 volts from the wall and showing kind of an erratic number here. I don't know why that is. Let's try this side. No volts on that side. I don't know all of the theory behind this whole method, so I can't really speak to that. But if I even put this in the video at all, but either way, it seems 0 volts this side. This side is a bit all over the place, but still, less than 0.1 volt by quite a bit. So I think this one's good. We're gonna go ahead and move on to the next one now. So we're running 120 volts, and just like before with this one, the lead right here, it's sporadic, kind of all over the place, but still nothing close to really 0.1 volts there. And if I go ahead and do this and go on this side, I'm guessing it's gonna be about 0. And it is. So from what I understand, that means these two are both totally fine, which matches the rest of them, which were all totally fine. Really, the only ones that were leaking at all were these two disc caps. So great, now that we've got that figured out, we can go ahead and make an order for parts and hopefully get this thing nice and ready for the next 20 years or so. So awesome. So there's one more thing I want to check real quick before I call it a day, and that is just to evaluate the voltage coming off of where the disc caps are. So we measured where this green and yellow wire are, which go to the master volume pot over here. We measured about 0.13 volts DC on those, which was causing the pot to be scratchy when you turned it. So the first reaction of mine was, the caps might be leaking. And, at those eyelets, we did see that voltage. However, I wanted to really quick before I finish up today, just see if there's any voltage on the board itself in that area, because that is known to happen. And especially so with this era Fender where it's kind of this waxy board. So one reason I didn't immediately jump to that is because the other eyelets didn't seem to show really much of any voltage, whereas that was pretty significant. I want to say significant in quotation marks, everything is relative, but it did show, 0.1 volts, which is not nothing. So the other ones, however, all these other spots didn't show anything. So typically when you'd have a board, that has some voltage on it, you would see that kind of in other eyelets, but we didn't. That doesn't rule it out though. So before I end today, I just want to check the board for voltage in those areas and see if we're getting anything here and here as well. And then, that'll kind of help me hone in on what is needed exactly once we actually start tearing it apart. So with that in mind, we'll go ahead and turn it on. Start some measuring here. So as a reminder, we've got these pots here, and we should be getting, you can see that 0.1-ish volts on that one. Same thing on the other one, and that's the yellow and green wires here. And so on the eyelet itself, we're looking at the 0.1, same thing with this one, 0.1. So now we're gonna go ahead and just put the tip of this right on the board itself, kind of in that area. So we are seeing some voltage there. It's not 0.1 though. Oh wow, right there is, okay, so this little spot right here, 0.13, which is more than what this is reading at the eyelet, and then over here was less. Crazy. Oh wow, almost 0.2 just over to that side. What about right here? Okay, so that tells us that possibly the cap is fine, and it's just got voltage on the board there. So we'll go ahead and check this spot too. So this eyelet, yeah, 0.1. So we're not quite seeing 0.1 on the board there, but there is voltage there. 0.1, 0.3. Okay, so with that in mind, we're gonna definitely want to clean kind of the board with some isopropyl there, maybe try and get some of the wax off in those areas where we're showing leaky voltage. But again, we weren't seeing anything, on really the sides of over here. So I guess for some reason, maybe there's extra moisture here that was causing that. Yeah, just this area probably. I mean, really, if you really wanted to do everything over, you would, and do it like perfectly, you would remove all of the wax on the board, but that would be extremely time consuming to do. And if we're only showing, any real leakage in this area, I'm just going to focus in on that. So, okay, that's going to go ahead and end this episode from this series, and then we will circle back probably tomorrow and begin working with the parts I have on hand, swapping those in, and also do an order for more parts so that we can get this amp all dialed in. Cool. All right, until next time, see you guys.